In the world of technology and innovation, startups are often seen as the engines of progress, the ones pushing boundaries, creating jobs, and driving the next generation of breakthroughs. But now, these small but ambitious companies are facing a massive new challenge that could threaten their survival. A new $100,000 fee on H-1B visa applications has sent shockwaves through the startup community. For big corporations, it's an inconvenience. For small tech firms and early-stage startups, it could be a knockout blow. Let's unpack what's happening. The H-1B visa has long been the backbone of America's high-skilled workforce. It allows U.S. companies to hire talented foreign professionals, especially in areas like engineering, data science, and software development, where domestic talent is in short supply. Tech giants like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft depend heavily on it. But so do thousands of smaller startups that rely on specialized engineers from around the world to turn their ideas into reality. Now, the new policy, introduced under a broader push to protect American jobs, adds a $100,000 fee per visa application. The stated goal is to discourage companies from overusing foreign labor and to fund domestic training programs. But in practice, it's hitting the very businesses that can least afford it. Let's put that into perspective. Big tech firms can easily absorb the cost. For a trillion-dollar company, $100,000 is a rounding error. But for a startup with limited funding, that's catastrophic. Many early-stage companies operate on razor-thin budgets, sometimes with only a few months of runway. Paying six figures just to sponsor one foreign employee could mean cutting a key project, delaying a product launch, or even shutting down entirely. Imagine a five-person startup trying to build a new AI product. Three of its engineers are on H-1B visas. Under the new rule, renewing those visas alone could cost the company $300,000, just in fees. That's before salaries, taxes, or benefits. For context, many seed-stage startups raise only around $1 million to get off the ground. That means nearly a third of their funding could vanish into immigration costs. The consequences are already being felt. Reports are emerging of startups freezing hiring, rescinding offers, or moving parts of their operations overseas to avoid the cost. Tech hubs like Austin, San Francisco, and New York are particularly vulnerable since they rely heavily on immigrant talent. Many founders are calling it the innovation tax, a penalty for trying to build something new in America. And here's the irony. While the rule is meant to protect U.S. workers, it may end up doing the opposite. Many of the startups affected by this fee aren't replacing American jobs. They're creating them. Each high-skilled immigrant hire often enables new teams to form around them. When those positions disappear, so do opportunities for U.S. designers, marketers, and support staff. Economists have warned for years that the U.S. tech ecosystem is deeply reliant on global talent. Roughly 45% of America's unicorn startups, companies valued over $1 billion, were founded by immigrants or children of immigrants. Take away access to international talent, and you take away the engine that built Silicon Valley. But this new fee doesn't just affect hiring. It also creates uncertainty for existing employees. Thousands of H-1B workers already in the U.S. may find themselves caught between renewals, unable to stay employed if their companies can't afford the cost. For small businesses, that means losing critical team members overnight. Projects stall. Investors lose confidence. Competitors abroad, especially in countries like Canada or India, step in to scoop up both the talent and the opportunity. And speaking of competitors, Canada's startup ecosystem is already seizing the moment. Canadian immigration officials have openly welcomed U.S.-based tech workers frustrated by visa restrictions. They've launched programs to fast-track skilled workers, offering lower fees and quicker approvals. In other words, the U.S. risks driving innovation north of the border. To understand just how disruptive this could be, let's look at how startups typically operate. They move fast, experiment constantly, and rely heavily on specialized engineers. These engineers, often from countries like India, China, or Eastern Europe, bring unique expertise in fields like AI modeling, robotics, and cybersecurity. Losing access to that talent pipeline means losing the ability to innovate quickly. Founders are now faced with an impossible choice: either pay the $100,000 fee per employee or move development elsewhere. Some are already exploring offshore-first strategies, setting up teams in Europe, Canada, or Asia, where visa costs are lower and the bureaucracy lighter. But that also means fewer tech jobs and less innovation happening on U.S. soil. Critics argue that the new fee fundamentally misunderstands how startups work. Big corporations can afford complex compliance processes and high fees. Startups can't. Their success depends on flexibility and access to top talent, wherever it comes from. By pricing them out of that system, policymakers risk giving large incumbents an even bigger advantage. Venture capitalists are also voicing concern. Many say this policy could make it harder for U.S. startups to scale. Investors want to back companies that can grow fast. But if hiring becomes too expensive or unpredictable, that growth slows. Some venture capitalists have already started advising their portfolio companies to look abroad for expansion or to incorporate in countries with more open immigration policies. And then there's the moral dimension. For years, America has branded itself as the global hub for innovation, a place where anyone, regardless of nationality, could bring their ideas to life. The H-1B visa program embodied that spirit. But a $100,000 price tag sends a very different message. Innovation is welcome, but only if you can afford it. The long-term implications could be profound. The U.S. might lose not just jobs, but leadership. The brightest minds in AI, biotech, and software could choose to build their futures elsewhere, in ecosystems that value and attract talent rather than tax it. Once that talent leaves, it rarely comes back. Of course, there's still time to course correct. Industry leaders, investors, and policy groups are already lobbying Washington to reconsider or at least introduce exemptions for startups and small businesses. They argue that innovation ecosystems thrive on inclusivity, not exclusivity. If America wants to stay ahead in the AI and tech race, it must invest in attracting talent, not penalizing it. At its core, this issue isn't just about immigration, it's about competition. The world is racing to dominate the technologies of the future, from AI to quantum computing. Whoever wins that race will shape global economics for decades. And to win, you need the best minds working together. Right now, the $100,000 H-1B fee is sending those minds a clear message. Building in America has never been harder. For startups, that's more than a policy change. It's a breaking point. And unless something changes soon, the U.S. could find that its greatest export in the years ahead isn't innovation, it's talent.